PCBWay is one of the leading PCB manufacturers out there, and it is the manufacturer I use for my products. Now, if you're either a hobbyist and or looking to create a final product, PCBWay is going to be a really great choice with their 24-hour and also assembly services. So go ahead and check the links down below. In today's video, we're taking a look at an all new product from Hakcrc. Now, this is a new flight controller they've released. It's the F722. So let's grab a quick look at this. So we're going to cover today is we're going to do an advanced breakdown as well as a beginner setup guide if you are new to the channel. And we'll start off with the accessories here. So obviously we do get the flight controller itself. We do get some rubber grommets, and they are exactly 4. So try not to lose any of them because you're going to need them because this is a 20x20. They also do provide you with a connector for the DJI setup. However, there's no connector that'll actually go into the flight controller. So you end up cutting this off and connecting this into your DJI module. And last but not least, they give us an extra connector right here, which would be used for your ESC. So you could probably reroute this accordingly to whatever ESC you might have. 4-in-1 ESC to be exact. So the things they do provide you are somewhat minimal, and you really don't need anything else out of this. As you can tell, we do have a USB Type-C connector. We also do have 2 regulators down here, a 9 or a 10 volt. I forgot. Let's just double check that. So we have a 5 and a 9 volt regulator down here. We also do have an on-screen display, which is really nice to see here. So you could use an HD setup or just a normal analog setup. We also do have a barometer down there that gives you the altitude. Not very accurate, but pretty accurate. You could also remove this sticker to kind of expose what's going on. Pretty simple stuff, just the F7. And we also do have our flash memory here. And we have quite a lot of LED outputs here. Every single corner, 3 of them are for LEDs. So if you wanted to do a nice LED setup, this probably be it right here. So to be honest, I don't think there's really a need for an advanced breakdown. It's pretty simple and pretty basic. We have the 5 volt, 9 volt. Back here, we have our on-screen display right here. We have a barometer. And we have our MPU 6000 chip right there. And if we flip it over, it's just the microcontroller unit up here. There's really nothing else. And yeah, just pretty basic and simple. So now let's go ahead and jump into the beginner's setup guide here. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and start with the FPV camera setup here. Now, some cameras take 5 volts and above. And I always recommend, no matter what voltage it takes, just stick it on a 5 volt. This will reduce your chance of having any problems in the future because there could be some weird stuff that happens. So stick it on a 5 volt, and that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to go ahead and grab our red wire, and we are going to route it to this pad right over here. And I'll show you why I did that in a bit here. The next, we're going to need ground. So I always like to connect my power first. So we're going to go ahead here. And it's going to be right there, ground. Now, the last wire we're going to need is just a camera signal wire. So this is where all the information is actually going to be passed through. And that's going to be connected right here. So camera. And that's about it for your camera. There's nothing else you need to do other than that right there. So now let's go ahead and jump into the next step. All right, guys. So now we're going to go ahead and cover the video transmitter part. However, before we get started, you need to make sure what kind of video transmitter you have, because there's 2 in the market. Ones that take 5 volts and ones that take 7 and above volts. We'll just put XX here. So the 5 volt video transmitter we'll call the 5 volt VTX, and the other video transmitter which takes 7 and above we'll call it a battery voltage video transmitter. So the only difference that's going to be between those 2 is where the red wire would go, and we're going to cover both. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So first of all, we'll start with the normal battery voltage video transmitter part. So here we're going to grab the positive. And let's actually just clean that up a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and grab the positive right there. And the place where you really want to set this one up, or where I would recommend you set it up, is you actually bring it down here. Right there. So we'll call this the 9 volt. So that's the battery voltage video transmitter. Now, if you had the 5 volt, the only difference it's going to be is you would take this one and put it right here. So let's just try to figure out a nice way to make this like this. And we'll just say 5 volts. So if you're a 5 volts, that's where you connect it. 9 volts, that's where you would connect it. Very simple. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into ground right here. So there's our ground wire. And again, it's going to be pretty simple. So we're just going to come back down here, and it's right there. That's where you're going to want to connect the ground. So the next one over is going to be the actual video signal. And the video signal is going to go on that VTX pad, if you could see it already. So let's just try to make this as nice as possible. and that's going to go right there. So that's our video line. And the last one is going to be your smart audio or IRC tramp protocol, which allows you to change the channels through the on-screen display without having to press this button right here. So the place where we're going to go ahead and grab that from is going to be a T pad. So we're just going to jump over here. I know it's pretty messy, and we're going to go right there, and this one right there. This is going to be TX1, and in your beta flights ports tab, make sure UART1 is selected to either smart audio under peripherals or the tramp protocol settings. And that's really it for the video transmitter. Let's go ahead and jump into the next part now. So now we're going to cover the receiver part. So we're going to cover the SBUS receiver. We're also going to cover IBUS receiver, and we're also going to cover the TBS crossfire receivers. So let's go ahead and get started. The only difference is going to be is where you set up the signal wires. And that's what we're going to start off with first here. So if you had a FrSky SBUS or any type of other SBUS, the place where you want to set this up is going to be right there on RX2. This is how they've designed the board to be meant to be set up for your receiver here. So we'll call this SBUS. Now, if you had IBUS, same exact thing right there, IBUS. Now, if you had the TBS, it's going to be slightly different here. So we're going to write TBS receiver here. And TBS usually has two types of pads. We have a TX, and we also have an RX that's going to be on the receiver itself here. Now, for the TX pad, the place where you would want to set that up is exactly the same place where you set these two up. Now, for the RX, it's going to go on a different pad. So we're going to go ahead and bring that up here, come up here, and right there. And as you can tell, the R went to a T, and you're like, why is that? Well, this is to receive data on the receiver, and on the flight control, this is to send data, transmit data. So it transmits the data down to the receive pin, and TBS transmits the data to a receive pin on the flight controller. Very simple stuff. Now we're going to go ahead and cover the power, which should be theoretically pretty simple. So we see that we have a 5 volt right here. We're going to go ahead and grab the 5 volt, and we're just going to make our way down there to the red wire. Next is going to be the ground. Again, very simple, right next to the 5 volt here. That's really nice. So we could just do that, and there you go. And this is ground, and this is 5 volts. And that's about it for this flight controller. And again, everything is linked down below if you could check those out. Those do greatly support the channel, enable me to keep making content. And also come join my Patreon. I do a ton of giveaways. I give it back as much as I can. You get access to some crazy stuff as well. Go ahead and check it out. You'll figure out. If you like it, join. If you don't, then don't join. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.